interview. It was absolutely fantastic. And I switched computers after I did the interview, but before I published it, I lost the file.
Ooh, that's always, that's the nightmare.
And to this day, this was at least 10 years ago now, if not longer. And just, right, I believe me, now.
Back up your backups.
Yeah.
I got you beat.
Oh,
I
no.
ran out of disk space when I was
Oh, no.
so I had to like quick jerry rig like USB hard drive that was super old and hope that it didn't fail. And
Did it work?
it did. So.
But yeah, I mean, all of that stuff, like, it becomes part of your process as you learn from your dumb mistakes. But my gosh, like, have your checklist for as ridiculous as it may seem. Have your checklist of where is it stored, where is it backed up. Before you do that interview, go through your checklists are critical to everything. By the way, not just interviewing, podcasting, whatever. Have checklists for literally everything you do. But yeah, it's.
Yeah, I have checklists for like the stuff I talk about before we start recording, even just so I don't forget to say anything.
Yeah.
Because you can be tired, you can be out of it. So many reasons. You might just have a brain fart, so many reasons why you forget. But we used to do, at Locust, we used to record the interviews using recorders. And we would always use 2 recorders, just in case one fails. For that reason.
Yeah.
It's like, I just wanted to ask from the other side of the interview. I'm a first-time author publishing in May from a small press. And I have some trepidation around, there's like an interview process to go through, and then also for like promotional tours. It's very trendy now that authors are hiring their own interviewers to help them interview them about their books in front for launches. So just what advice would you have? One, as far as preparing someone being interviewed, preparing to be interviewed, number one. And perhaps also the next level up is how to hire, like how to engage an interviewer to help you meet your marketing objectives. If you have any advice on that.
I think honestly, one of the biggest things is are you nervous about being interviewed? That's one of the things where I think like some of it's just experience and building. It's almost like a skill. I can't really speak as much of the latter just because that is candy. I mean, I understand, I get it. Trying to.
Speaking more in a personal, speaking professionally is one thing.
Yeah.
Speaking in a more personal way about a more personal project is always more risky, emotional, vulnerable, right? So I don't know. I know people, others like they can be quite eloquent in their professional careers, but it's different when you have like very personal, artistic project, right?
I think one thing, if you're being interviewed by somewhere or someone, you can see what other interviews they've done.
Yeah.
Because that can give you an idea of the kinds of things they might talk about. Because different venues are very different, right? And so like some interviewers will try to trap you while other interviewers are trying to empower you to talk about it.
Yeah.
So like just taking a look at what other stuff they've done. And also looking at how different people talk in interviews, what kind of things they say. That can also kind of help you figure out who you want to be in an interview, because it is like an opportunity for you to put yourself forward. But I think also having an idea of what you want to get out of the interview as an author, because as an author, you should keep in mind that, interviews, in my opinion, at least from the magazine world, they're sort of a blend of the personal, but it's also about selling your book. And a lot of authors forget that. And so you want to, don't forget to talk about the book, basically. Like it's great to talk about your childhood, your process, whatever, but also you need to make sure to talk about the book, because the idea is that people who don't know your work will see what the book is about and they might be interested in buying it.
Yeah.
I would just tack on, listen to interviews from authors you like or you think you're similar to, and see how they approach it, and just what listen and hear what you like about
Yeah,
their
it's not even just try to
Oh, I
imitate
like
this,
this,
sometimes
they
it's
did that.
don't be like this person.
But also, there could be little things that you pick up on, like, oh, I like the way that they approach that question or whatever, that you can kind of work into your own presentation. And also, you seen Reservoir Dogs?
Yeah,
The scene where Tim Roth is rehearsing his cover story.
Yes.
Maybe you don't have to be that intensive about it, but I would sit down and write out 3 just sort of anecdotal things from your life that you can have loaded up to share in that way, and kind of have 3 stories that you're comfortable with that maybe relate to your work, but also are one of those things that's going to catch potential readers and like, oh, I like this about this guy. This makes me want to read his stuff more.
Or like auditioning.
Yeah. Because really, that's what you're doing. You're auditioning for people to read your book.
does your publisher have a publicity department? Yeah, you can also check with them and see who they're reaching out to, and then you can suggest venues to them, or you can reach out to venues that they haven't reached out to, and just, see what happens.
All right, thank you.
And one last thing I'd add is, don't be afraid to set a boundary.
Yeah,
Because if, something just feels uncomfortable to talk about, that's okay. But you gotta let them know.
yeah, that was kind of what I, when I mentioned earlier about any hangups or traumas, like if there's something, a no-go zone, establish that, yeah.
Let the interviewer.
That goes,
your
yeah.
boundary.
Okay, good.
And have some segues in mind to navigate away from whatever that
Mhm.
topic is.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to ask, before the interviewer, it's okay to ask the interviewer, if they have an idea of what kind of stuff they're going to talk about, or, if you have questions about it or concerns, you can
Yeah.
ask. Like at Locust, we let the authors see the interview and do edits before we run it. But not everyone knows that, and not every place does that. And so me telling them, it helps them to feel more comfortable. But you can also ask them, will I get to see the interview before it publishes, or, whatever concerns you have, you can ask them about it. And if they're not total jerks, they should be able to engage with you, around your concerns.
Thank you very much.
Oh, go ahead. I wasn't expecting so many questions over.
There's a line.
So I'd like to know, what are your 5 most standard questions that you ask in every interview? And then to circle back to something you said earlier, what are some concrete examples of twists that you've put on questions that you think you want to ask them something that's never been asked before?
You guys got that?
From everybody.
We have homework.
Yeah, one of the things I would usually do is, the show I did and want to get back to was Geek Cred, but it's kind of, the audience is a lot of people that would go to this con, but so I would phrase the like, how did you get started, as like, what is your superhero origin story, which kind of is a standard question, but you try and make it a little more fun and interesting. And then what I would always do is do a rapid fire or word association, where instead of it being open-ended, it would be very closed, but then you would get a reaction. Like I would do like Star Trek or Star Wars or Kirk or Picard, and then someone might go, no, Cisco, damn it. And like, okay, tell me more about your strong feelings about which is the best, Star Trek captain. So yeah.
I always get in there, what are your earliest pop culture influences? And what were your influences when you were actually developing your talent? Because there's a difference in those things. When we're growing up, and our brains are sponges from, age 6 to 18 is probably the most impactful when you're taking in that kind of stuff.
Brain
That's what
plasticity.
sticks
The
with you, right?
sponginess.
Yeah. And then what were your influences once you realized that you were going to pursue whatever it is we're talking about? How did you get into, how did you actually start? Because a lot of what I want to do when I'm interviewing is let people like myself know that these creators just like all of us started off as kids, found their passion and pursued it, and they're now succeeding at it. And it's possible. That's one of the big things I want to get across. So I want that story of, well, how did you start doing it? And just kept going until you got to where you are now. And I don't know that I've got 5 sort of pat standard questions, because from there I go where the bullet points I send out before my interview are here. Generally, I kind of list some of their projects or things that they're working on. And I give that outline of here are topics we're likely to cover. However, this is a conversation, so and in a lot of cases, I let them lead if they want to do it, because it's great listening to people talk about things they want to talk about.
I would also tend to, it's a little easier now. I would listen to other interviews. It's a little easier now because you can, if you have to, run it through AI, get a transcript, and you're not, listening hours and hours. But I would do a lot of prep to find the thing that wasn't talked about or was like maybe mentioned in passing, and like latch onto that to try and ask the questions that weren't asked. So that was kind of a way to get to things. Go ahead.
First, thanks for having the panel.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for coming.
Is there a site, or do you use Discord or Skype? Do you have a place that's kind of like industry standard for when you're doing these interviews? Like they're expecting you to send them this link from here or there or something like that? I hear a lot.
There are a number of platforms, but yeah, I mean, if you're doing it remote, there are different ones. But yeah, I would encourage, maybe it's the audio engineer in me, but I would encourage you to make sure you're getting at least some sort of multi-track recording, because then you can edit things independently, edit out coughs or background sounds or anything. But yeah, there's a number of, Squadcast, Zencaster, Riverside, and some others. I probably am not even thinking of off the top of my
I
head.
personally use.
But you could just use Zoom, or Zoom actually, I always forget, because Zoom was originally terrible for that stuff, but it does offer multi-track.
Yeah, it has
High quality
multi-track.
mode. Now, you have to specifically enable high quality mode though, and know how to do that, but yeah.
Which is not that hard.
It's not hard, you just gotta
And-
know that you need to, yeah.
And once you set it, it stays that way for all of your recordings.
Good to know. Thank you very much.
That's a big thing, is whatever you use, whatever platform it is, be aware of how much fiddling you have to do
Yeah,
for
be
each
aware of the
thing, because they
ports.
don't all save settings in that way. I've been using StreamYard for the past couple of years, and I'm getting ready to switch to Riverside. And again, I have made every wrong decision you can possibly make. So I've used, I was using Skype initially, just because typically
Originally Skype was the only real option,
Yeah,
unless you're
it's
gonna
really
use a
all
telephone.
I had. But for me, it's usually been, my gosh, what looks like the most manageable option for me while I'm learning all of this and building my skills. And, hopefully I will continue to evolve of, okay, now from this other platform that wasn't great, I learned all of these things, and I can graduate to this platform that offers a little bit more. And now I can learn a little, because Riverside I've been using it, the free version for the past few months now. And it has some just amazing stuff for socials. It's really fantastic, yes. I've been very impressed. Look, compared to StreamYard, I'm not saying Riverside is the tippy top.
Yeah,
I'm just
these
saying.
type of companies are definitely all kind of competing for the same space.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of good because you can bounce around, or they're copying each other, so it kind of all tide, rising tide lifts all boats. Kind of
And that's the thing, is you're going, whatever you find that has features you like, eventually those features are probably going to roll out to the competitors, or the competitors will find something better. So don't get mired in the same thing for too long either, because you're used to it. Be willing to look and see, like you said, Zoom has now upgraded what they offer since I was using it. So you've got to be willing to get out of what you've been comfortable with for however long, and say, wait, this seems to offer more now, and I need to check that. Don't get stuck in your habits too much.
Yeah, I before I get to, I do want to mention real quick a couple of bits. If you're doing it remote, in all cases, honestly, please make sure both you and your guests are wearing headphones. If you don't want echo issues, that'll, at best, echo cancellation is not magic. It will degrade audio quality even when it seems to work pretty well. If you can, don't use Wi-Fi. If you can run a cable across the house, if you got to, I have done that. And even just for that one thing, because the reliability and lack of latency spikes, jitter in the connection can make a difference, especially if video is important, but the audio as well, which is the most important part. And if you got to, reset your modem, reset your router, reboot your computer, make sure it has time to install updates. Give yourself 30 minutes for all those stuff before you're hopping on the call with your guests.
Make sure you have enough room on your hard drive.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and also be ready to accept that some guests just are not going to have
True,
best
yes.
video or audio quality. You're just going to have some that, a lot of these people maybe don't often do interviews like this, don't have equipment that is up to the same standard.
But at least try to ask. I think is the thing. Yeah,
and don't use. I think every platform has kind of a default message that goes out. Like when you send the invitation, it says you will need headphones and a good camera and good whatever.
Don't set the bar too high.
Well, and also don't use the platform's default message. Put it in your own words in your messaging. Because chances are they're not going to read that bottom wall of text that's technical information. So put it in your words, in your message.
Hi, I'm trying to transition from moderating as a panelist my commentary into interviewing. What would be the biggest differences in prep? Because I got the agenda down, I've got like the transitions from one topic to another. But the discovery questions, like you were saying, like how do you keep the flow of conversation going when you already don't have everything planned out?
Kind of where it's more one-on-one versus, Yeah, for me, honestly, that was just putting more specific prep in, digging more questions out. I might have 10 questions. I might only use 5. I might need all 10 depending on how the conversation goes, and just being ready to pivot with things and just that's how I roll. But I'm sure you got some good thoughts on that.
No, I mean,
from the magazine
I usually have way more questions than I need, way more, especially just because sometimes people will give a shorter answer than
exactly.
I'll have if realistically I'll need 8 or 9 questions, I'll probably have 15, and then I'll have like a handful of backup questions on top of that. And then I'll have because I'm dealing with authors, I'll have on hand their bibliography, so I can jump into that if I need to. I can be like, what were the differences for you in writing this book versus writing that book? But a lot of it also will be the spontaneity of the moment, what comes out of their response that I can latch onto and then bring that in. And then I'm not even using my prepared questions, especially if it's really interesting. Then I'm like, oh, tell me more about that. Or,
always. I necessarily tell me more. Just always go for the yes and if there's something.
Yeah. It's because part of it when you're interviewing someone is just entertaining them. And so, being spontaneous, being in the moment, paying attention to their body language and their voice modulation can really help, it can help if you're kind of boring them, or, if you want to change tracks, change subjects, or whatever you want to do. So a lot of it is really spontaneity, but also preparation.
I was thinking about the question earlier about, what are your stock questions? Like something that I'm sure you probably have, like what is your inspiration as an author or your idol or something like that?
I will I never ask anyone what their
or at least have that as that type of thing as a fallback, right? Which it's kind of just whatever your niche is going to, there's going to be a certain angles, your natural angles that you can fall back on if need be.
Actually, I'm lying. I do. Well, what I'll say is what was the original inspiration for this book?
Right.
And how did the book change over time?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Because I think almost always there's a big difference between what the impetus for the book was and what the final product looks like. So it gives them a little bit more. It uses the inspiration as a leaping point to dig deeper into the writing and production process. And I let them take it where they will, because maybe they'll talk about editing, maybe they'll talk about something else, maybe they'll talk about they had to trash the entire first draft, or it can go so many places.
The vomit pass.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah.
And I also would say, don't be afraid to put it out there that you're going to be interviewing someone and crowdsource it.
Crowdsource questions. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if there's like like when I did my interview with the creators of the show, I had about 150 questions from
Wow.
different people who had the same sort of passion for the show that wanted to know like the answers to things that were just never discussed.
Mhm.
And you may not think of those.
And that's not just good for your interview or for knowing that you're addressing things the audience wants. It's also good for your engagement.
Yeah.
If you're putting that up on socials, that's people engaging with your brand. So that's a great way to get people, to climb up that extremely difficult ladder.
Yeah.
I'll try to get a little bit more specific. So I moved from generic questions to a little bit more specific. So for example, instead of saying, how do you write your characters? I'll look at their book and I'll look at who the central characters are. And I'll say, what were your favorite things about writing these two characters?
Yeah.
So it gives it a more specific
Try and
context.
customize those, even if they're maybe somewhat generic, common topics. At least customize the questions to the guest as much as possible to get that engagement with them and just make it more interesting. But
yeah, you mentioned tossing drafts out. I really love talking about wrong turns, and
yeah, that's a good. Yeah, what are your biggest failures? What went wrong?
Well,
not what went right. What went wrong?
Or what maybe turned out in a way you didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
I find that most creators enjoy talking about, we set out to do this, and then it turned out that this didn't work for this project, but we used it later on here, or like that kind of stuff tends to be a good branching path of conversation.
Yeah, sometimes the failures or the pivots are kind of the best stories, or even like you were saying, oh, my hard drive failed and I had to panic, or my hard drive filled up and I had to panic, like that itself, those
lessons learned.
Yeah, exactly. It can be a good.
But yeah, like I totally agree with asking about failures as well. Like one of the nicest things you can do, I think, for a person is to ask what was their favorite of their creations, and then also ask what was their least favorite, because it makes them think like where's one thing that I've messed up on that I am like not that proud of,
right?
And sometimes it will surprise you and you'll be like, but like that was a great episode, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And hearing that from their perspective is.
Were you surprised when the public had a positive reaction to this thing that you thought was maybe not your best stuff?
I do a little bit, not directly interview related, but I do audiobook editing for Scott Sigler, and the amount of bloopers where he's just, who wrote this crap? I'm the worst guy. Like he's flaming himself in the booth when he's narrating his books. And so for creatives, there's, I think, always some amount of self-loathing, whether they'll want to admit it or not. Where they're just, so if you can dig into that, there's always something there. Yeah.
Well, I think self-loathing is one of the great wells of creation.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
I was just gonna wonder, when are you gonna put a Scott Sigler blooper reel out?
We Saturday, one for the junkies, 11:30 p.m.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what's the role of editing in the process, and like how does that work if you're doing more of a conversational interview?
You're more
I
conversational than me.
hate editing, and I try not to do it. I mean, I'll be honest. That's one of the skills I worked really hard to develop early on, is to try and have conversations that do not require editing, because I hate it.
Same.
Yeah, it really depends on how much editing you're willing to do and how polished it has to be in your mind. I was always a little bit more polished, trying to be a bit more polished. Of course, that's doing that show got me into an audio engineer career. So that is probably part of that, where that was a little bit more allowed me to express my creativity and editing a lot. I would always tell the guests, hey, if there's a because it was only a podcast, not a live stream.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a stumble or you just, you know, if you want to abort and restart, dude, you can do that. And I will edit this out for you and it's all good.
Yeah, I don't do podcasts, but I've been guests on podcasts a number of times, and that's always very comforting when they tell me that, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
don't worry, we'll edit out this and that. And,
It's like, I want to make you sound as awesome as possible.
yeah,
It's all good. And it's just how much editing you're willing to do. There isn't really necessarily a black art to it. I mean, I would always edit out a lot of things, you know, if my dog barks or whatever, things like that. It's simple things.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes you got to make that time note and know, oh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to go back.
things like that. It's you know, or just, you know, different background noises in modern life. It's not like we're all in a recording studio where everything's perfect. But yeah.
And also don't over edit. I've listened
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
podcasts.
Try it.
where
Yeah, I
people
would
try
always,
to
I
cut
would
out
do a lot of editing, but
every
try
bit of
and make
dead
it
space.
sound real. You know, there's a fine line there.
You can tell when somebody's gone in and cut out like every pause
Or every breath.
You're like, this is not natural.
Yeah.
What happened here? And that's off-putting to the listener.
It's okay if someone says once or twice. Okay, I swear. You don't have to edit out everyone.
And if you feel like really strongly about editing that stuff out, and you're not that great at it, there are AI that will automatically edit out ums and long pauses, but you have to be careful to listen.
Yeah, or at least
Yeah,
those,
don't ever trust AI to
those
do what
there are those
you
tools
think it's
that you
gonna
can
do.
Yeah.
some of those AI tools you can export that into an audio editor timeline and check all those. Oh, I need to tweak this automated edit. Oh, you know, it's cutting off
Riverside's
a word,
actually
and that can
got
definitely
suite
help a
of AI
lot.
tools now.
What you got?
It's just a basic question. I love to hear people talk about all the stupid stuff they did wrong, so that I can avoid it. So I would know if there was any more things you guys would point out.
We've only got
Oh, man,
5 minutes left, so
I'll
nothing I'll admit on the record.
I not to pimp, but I am moderating a panel which was originally titled "You're Doing It Wrong," but it is technical difficulties in content creation.
I like that.
yeah.
But yeah, things can go wrong. I worry that that may be a little bit beyond the scope and time we have left, but that is definitely a deep well.
What if you've got a guest who's just talking too much and they're not really like, how do you gracefully get them?
Sometimes you just don't herd the cats, you just let them go.
Yeah.
Let the ADHD.
Yeah.
It depends on how they're talking too much. Because sometimes I have had guests where I have literally felt like, have at it. You're making my job easy. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're entertaining.
Yeah, sometimes just let them roll. Let them roll.
But there are some who are just rambling, and that's because you're listening through the whole interview.
Yeah.
You are active listening. Like that's a key part of all of this. And you have to listen for a prompt where you can jump in and make a segue. And sometimes it's difficult because their stream is just going. And that's what you've got to, you just got to hear that moment where you can be like, yeah, and what about, you know?
So I'm a writer and I interview people for the written word all the time, and I'm being asked to do a podcast. But I'm interviewing into pharmaceutical people in a panel.
Oh.
So I'm trying to figure out if I even want to do that, because I'm thinking
Yes,
it's like orchestrating a runaway train.
you do.
Yeah.
Right?
You do. Never say no.
Yeah, I
Never
say
seen
go for it. You never know. If not, if
You
worst
could
case, you got a
learn
good
so
story
much.
of a train wreck.
I think if you need to interrupt someone, you just can do it in a really excited way. Like if you're talking, I can be like, "Oh my God, no! Are you serious? No, but wait, let me ask you this."
I like that.
Yeah.
And then they're vibing on your excitement, so it doesn't read like you're cutting them off.
That's great. Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I'm actually nervous about that.
Just a quick pivot on editing. So in the sense of when you complete the piece, are you guys doing a lot of post-production work on the audio itself? De-essing, reverb cancellation, voice expansion, blah, blah, blah? Or are you just letting whatever comes out in terms of how the audio comes out run through the way it is?
I would tend to do a lot of, or a fair amount of polishing, but it depends on your level of expertise and comfort with that level of audio engineering side of things.
Yeah, for me, I'm just an ape hitting the keyboard, so I try to stay away from that. 9 times out of 10, I'm able to use the product that we captured during the interview. Every once in a while, I do have to go in and try and, like you said, correct some reverb or do a little bit of that, and I don't enjoy it. But sometimes it's heartbreaking when you've got this fantastic conversation and you're listening back and you just hear like
sometimes you got to polish the turd.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
we are running short on time, so I do want to touch on like at least I know for me, I would always try and follow up after the fact, and give them a thank you. First of all, they generously donated their time, even if there's a business reason, like for an author promoting a new book or an actor promoting a new thing, they're still giving you their time. And let them know when you release it so they can promote it on their socials and whatnot, because they're also promoting you when they promote themselves in doing that. And give them, if you have those, give them prompts, give them assets, if to that they can just hey, copy paste, boom. Any thoughts?
When I do interviews, I actually have an artist friend who does the cover art, and I make sure to put
custom per episode cover arts. That's great.
So I make sure that they have their contact, because it has happened that they're like, this is really cool, I want a print of this. So I want to make sure you're promoting everyone that did help, because I've forgotten to include like someone's socials before, and I felt awful.
Yeah.
Because they thought that they did a bad job, and I'm like, no, I brain fart.
Yeah.
Checklist again. Yeah.
Checklist.
Right.
Yeah. We're just about out of time. So for all you guys, what other panels are you doing that you want to promote here, and where can people find you online? Ryla, why don't you start?
Well, I am doing later this afternoon, probably out of the bear costume, surviving con with neurodivergence through the digital media track at 1 p.m. And then on Sunday, I'm doing Worlds Collide, building synergy between your personal and creative life. And my baby, I do venture trivia at 10 p.m. on Sundays. We have some really cool prizes this year. Come just to see people in costume be goofy and feel the vibes of happiness.
Goofiness and costumes at Dragon Con. I would never.
Oh, and we have really good prizes this year, like I said. And you can find me at Linktree /Rylo Ward.
I'm sorry?
Just say your name.
Oh.
I'm Dave West. You can find me in the Dragon Con app. Today at 1 p.m. I'll be hosting Batman Forever in the Classics Track Room. At 4 p.m. I'll be hosting Audible Interlude, a G.I. Joe podcast, also in the Classics Track Room. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m., Hyatt International North, the Big Damn Game Show. It is the most fun you can possibly have at Dragon Con. I make that guarantee. Come out, check it out. That's in the app as well. Sunday at 1 p.m., Halloween Con. It is about the holiday, not the movies. And then Sunday at 5:30 p.m., Panel of Adventure, where the panelists read a choose your own adventure book, but the audience chooses the adventure.
Ooh.
And please come get a card on your way out.
Yeah, I have some here too. I am Steve Rickyberg. You can find me actually next door in just a few minutes doing the Sound Lab with our one of our wonderful track staff. And tomorrow, as I mentioned, for any Scott Sigler fans, 10 p.m. or I'm sorry, 11:30 p.m. One for the Junkies. And on Sunday, technical difficulties, getting it right. That is all about avoiding the disaster, hopefully. But there will probably be some fun stories about that. And you can find me online at steverickyberg.com and on Blue Sky at Steve Rickyberg.
I'm Arley Sorg, ARLEYSORG. If you Google me, you will find me.
And remember to support our charity, NAMI Georgia. Mental health is important. Not all illnesses are visible. And I trust me, I am one of those. I am one of those people. A lot of neurodivergent people are here. And yes, definitely that is an important cause for everyone. And yeah, thank you for coming, especially for 10 a.m. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.